Okay, so this is the last page of the study guide. It was chapter 7. Now, I know when we took this chapter 7 test, you were allowed to use a calculator, but you are not using a calculator for the midterm. The calculations you're going to do aren't going to be that long. Okay, but for numbers 1 and 2, we're going to use the same formula. We need to find the sum of what all these angles should add up to be. So we're using the formula n minus 2 times 180. So what I'm going to do is you can either count the sides or count the angles. It doesn't matter. So if I count, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 angles, which is 5 sides as well. So 5 minus 2 times 180, 3 times 180, and that gives me 540. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add x, 103, 122, 98, 99, and set that equal to 540. Next, what I need to do is add up all of the numbers there. So I'm going to add 103 plus 122 plus 98 plus 99, and that gives me 422. So now I have x plus 422 equals 540. Subtract 422, and that is going to give me my answer. So 540 minus 422, and x equals 118. I'm going to do the same thing for number 2. I need to count and figure out what my n value is. Either count the sides or the angles. The numbers are the same. So once I count the angles, I have one right angle here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my n value is 8. So 8 minus 2 times 180. So 6 times 180. And I get 1,080. So now I'm going to add up all of these. Doesn't matter where you start. I'll start with the 5x. So 5x plus 170 plus 90. I'm just going all the way around. Plus 166 plus 150 plus 143 plus 112 plus 84 equals 1080. I'm not going to give you a problem on the midterm with this many angles in it. So what I need to do is add up all of these. So 170, let me just quickly add them. 170 plus 90 plus 166 plus 150 plus 143 plus 112 plus 84. That gives me 915. And then now I'm going to subtract 915 from both sides. And I get 1080 minus 915. I think I might have. Okay, so my mistake here, this is 94, not 84. So then I need to add, so this should be 925. And now when I subtract 1080 minus 925, I get 155. So 5x equals 155. Divide by 5, and x equals 31. Then for number 3, this one, these are all exterior angles. So I'm going to add them all up, just like before, but I'm going to set them equal to 360. Because remember, the sum of the exterior angles is always 360. So x plus 59, make this bigger, 59 plus 47 plus 36 plus 65 plus 82, and set that equal to 360. So let me combine all of those. So 59 plus 47 plus 36 plus 65 plus 82, 289. And then x plus, and then equals 360. Subtract 289 from both sides, and x equals 71. So those are the first 3. and you're using your n minus 2 times 180 formula. Then for number 5, it wants to know, is there enough information to show that this is a parallelogram? Well, we can't assume that these are parallel, which would make these supplements, this one and this one, or these two. So this is not enough information. Only one pair of congruent angles is not enough. I need both. So this one's a no. Over here, the diagonals are bisected, so I could use my parallelogram's diagonals converse. So this one is yes, because the diagonals were bisected. Then number 7, at first glance, you might think, oh, I could use that opposite sides parallel and congruent theorem. However, the congruent sides are not on the parallel side, so this would not work. You would have either needed the 10 and the parallel on the same side, or we could have moved the parallel over here. So because it was not on the same pair of opposite sides, this one is a no. Then the next one, it wants us to name each type of quadrilateral where each one of these conditions will happen. So when it's an equilateral triangle, this would make this a rhombus and a square. Then number 9, its interior angles are all right angles. That would make this a rectangle and a square. And then number 10, diagonals are congruent. That's what we learned about a rectangle. And then we all know that all squares are rectangles, so it would also be a square. And then the last one, opposite sides are parallel. That's all of them. It's the parallelogram, it's the rectangle, it's the rhombus, and the square. Because all rectangles, all rhombuses, and all squares are all parallelograms. And by definition, opposite sides that are parallel makes it a parallelogram. Then down here, it wants the most specific name. This figure only has one pair of opposite sides that are parallel, making this a trapezoid. Then number 15, what I'm going to do here is realize I've got a teeny tiny triangle here over to the side. And if I use my triangle sum theorem, if I add 33 and 57, that's going to give me 90. And then if I subtract that from 180, I can see that this angle right here is a right angle, making these diagonals perpendicular, making this a rhombus. Because one of the properties of a rhombus is the diagonals are perpendicular. And then next one, I've got a pair of consecutive congruent sides, making this a kite. These would be the other pair of congruent consecutive sides. And then the last one, a picture wasn't provided, so I highly recommend you draw yourself a picture. So I'm going to draw a trapezoid. And I'm going to label it with my letters, W, X, Y, and Z. And it told me that WX was parallel to YZ, and that YZ is 4.25, and that the mid-segment here has a length of 2.75. It wants me to find the length of WX. I'm going to call WX B1, because the formula I'm going to be using here is base 1 plus base 2 divide by 2 equals the mid-segment length. So then this is B2. So then now what I'm going to do is plug in my numbers. So I don't know B1. I know B2 is 4.25. Divide by 2. And it's going to be set equal to the mid-segment, which is 2.75. So in order to solve this, I need to multiply both sides by 2. This will cancel. And then I get B1 plus 4.25 equals 5.5. Subtract the 4.25. And then I get base 1 is equal to, borrow 415 to 1.25 centimeters. So WX is 1.25 centimeters. So that is it for your study guide for the midterm. Now, again, remember, you can always go back. Remember, for every chapter test that we took, I always would post 2 reviews, and they were PDFs. So you can, if you're looking for more additional problems, and if maybe when you were studying for the test, you never did that extra review, you could go back and use that to study for the midterm. Also, remember, you have your big ideas. You have the e-textbook that you can look for the odd questions that you have answers to. If you're struggling with proofs, go back to the triangle congruency chapter and review the odd problems that are proofs. When you did the big ideas, it was always that drag and drop. So you might be better off going back to the e-textbook and doing the proofs where you're going to write them down. So that's where you can get extra practice. You can always review your warm-ups, any assignments or anything I've given you. Whatever chapter you feel that you're struggling with, go back and look for those resources. I will see you tomorrow and then again next week for 2 more days of review. So if you find you have any other questions, or maybe you pull a problem out of somewhere that you're just not sure how to work out, bring those questions tomorrow and Monday, and I'll be glad to answer them. So what you should do for the remainder of the class time, look over, see if you have any questions on anything, and then you can ask me now as well.